Welcome to EPG Pathshala on computer science. We are looking at computer networks. The topic that we will be looking at now is inter-domain routing, and we will be specifically looking at the BGP protocol, the Border Gateway Protocol. So, we will start off with understanding the challenges in routing protocols and why we have this something called inter-domain routing protocol, and then we will look at the BGP protocol. So far we have actually looked at two routing protocols. We looked at the distance vector routing protocol and the link state routing protocol. And when we looked at these two routing protocols, our study is kind of idealized in the sense that we assumed that all routers are identical and the network is kind of flat with not too much of hierarchy in it. Of course, when we talked about link state routing, we did allude to some kind of hierarchy in the sense that we said that the network can be divided into multiple autonomous systems, and then within that you have areas and so on, right. So, some kind of hierarchy actually is there in practice, but we really have not considered it in our routing protocol as such. Okay. So, but we will look at how this actually is required. Okay. So, if you look at the global internet, the way it is organized, so you will typically we have huge service providers which is called as backbone service providers, right, and these are connected to each other at what are called as peering points, and you have large corporations directly connect to these backbone service providers because they require maybe heavy service, and there are many consumer internet service providers which connect to these peering points, okay, and they use the services of the backbone service provider, and they in turn could be providing services to multiple smaller corporations. Okay. So, this is typically a structure of the internet that we have. Okay. So, now in this for this structure, with this kind of a structure, okay, so what are the basic challenges, right, when you look at routing in this kind of a structure? Look, if you look at the scale with more than, it is not 600 million, it is probably much larger than that, you just cannot store all the destinations in routing tables, right. And just the routing table exchange, remember we kept talking about routing table being exchanged between the routers, just that exchange itself could just swamp links, right. Second thing is, in an internet which is basically a network of networks, okay, administrative autonomy is very important. Okay. Each network administrator would want to have control over how routing takes place in his network. Okay. So, we cannot have one size fits all kind of thing and say that everybody will use the same routing protocol or whatever. Okay. We need some kind of flexibility and autonomy. Okay. So, to provide this kind of autonomy, what actually happens is that the internet is organized as autonomous systems, each of which is under the control of a single administrative entity. So, these autonomous systems would normally correspond to one administrative domain. So, this administrative domain can be, for instance, just one company, one organization, one university, or it could be the backbone network. Okay, it may be, for instance, a corporation's internal network or network of a single ISP. That could also be an autonomous system. So, basically something which is under one administrative domain. Okay. So, with this kind of autonomous system in place, so what we do in terms of handling the routing challenges is that we use some kind of a hierarchical aggregation of information, of routing information, in order to handle the scale. So, what we do for that is we divide the entire routing across the entire internet into two parts, okay, which is routing within a single autonomous system and routing between autonomous systems. So, to go from one autonomous to one autonomous system to another autonomous system is what is called as routing between autonomous systems, and once you go into an autonomous system, finding a path, finding a router or a network within that autonomous system is routing within that single autonomous system. Okay. So, another name that is normally used for autonomous system is also routing domains. So, in that sense we talk about these two as inter-domain routing protocol and intra-domain routing protocols. So, inter-domain routing protocol is internet wide standard. Intra-domain is within that autonomous system or routing domain. That autonomous system has the choice of selecting its own intra-domain routing protocol. Basically, it can choose between either RIP or OSPF. So, RIP, OSPF are intra-domain routing protocols. Okay. So, within a domain they work. So, we are now concerned about how the inter-domain routing protocol should work. Okay. So, what happens is hierarchical in routing idea is that we aggregate the routers into this autonomous systems, into these regions, and routers within an AS will run the same routing protocol, which is the intra-AS routing protocol, either RIP or OSPF. Okay. But routers in different AS can run different intra-AS routing protocols. And we have something called gateway routers, which will be at the edge of an autonomous system. So, a gateway router for an autonomous system is a router which is at its edge, and this will have links to routers in other autonomous systems, and these gateway routers will be the ones which will run inter-domain routing protocol. So, which talks about how you go from one domain to another domain. Okay. So, let us look at basically what will happen in this kind of an interconnected autonomous system scenario. So, let us say I have AS1 here, AS2 here, AS3 here, there are multiple routers which are there in these different autonomous systems. So, at this router, say 1D for instance, okay, what you will actually have is 1D will have information coming from an intra-AS routing algorithm plus information coming from an inter-AS routing algorithm in order to construct its routing, its forwarding table. Okay. So, the forwarding table, right, all the intra-AS entries, right, or this for all the internal destinations that are there within this autonomous system, that will be set by means of the intra-AS routing protocol, and the entries for the external destinations will be set using both intra-AS information and the inter-AS information. Now, why do I need both here? Inter-AS because I need to know how I have to reach some other autonomous system, and to reach that some other autonomous system I have to go through some local router here. So, I also need to know how to reach that border router, right. So, I need both information as far as reaching external networks is concerned. Okay. So, how this interplay takes place, how this inter-AS routing algorithm works is what we are going to look at now. Okay. So, what are the tasks that are expected of an inter-AS routing algorithm? Okay. Suppose router in AS1 receives a datagram, right, which is destined outside of AS1. It has to be sent somewhere outside of AS1. So, what should this router do? It has to forward it to some gateway router. Now, there can be, now you can see that 1C and 1B are both gateway routers because this is connected to AS3, this is connected to AS2. So, both 1B and 1C are gateway routers. So, let us say for instance 1D receives a packet. Now, it knows it has to forward it either to 1B or 1C, but to which one? That decision it will have to take. Okay. So, what is it that AS1 must do? It must learn which destinations are reachable through AS2 and which destinations are reachable through AS3. Then you know that other networks are connected to these. So, which networks can be reached through AS3, which networks can be reached through AS2, that it has to know. Second, this information, right, this reachability information, it will have to propagate to all the routers in AS1, that all these nodes can be reached through AS2, and that information will come to 1B for instance. So, that will have to be sent to all the nodes which are internally present here. So, this is what is done by the inter-AS routing. So, this is the job of inter-AS routing. Okay. So, let us take a look at a simple example to understand this further. Okay, suppose AS1 learns via some inter-AS protocol, okay, that subnet X is reachable via AS3. Okay. So, not via AS2. So, which means through this gateway 1C it can reach X. So, that information let us say it has got. Okay. So, now inter-AS protocol propagates reachability information to all the internal routers. Okay. So, what will happen is in the routing table at router 1D, in the forwarding table, okay, it will determine from the intra-AS routing information that its interface L is on the least cost path to 1C. It knows it has to go through 1C. So, it has to now find a path to 1C. Now, path to 1C is connected to this particular interface L. So, it will install a forwarding table entry which says that if I have to go through LX, I have to go through this interface L. So, X comma L will be the information that is put in this forwarding table of 1D, right, for reaching X. Okay. Now, suppose X could be reached from two different ASs, that is there is a path to go from AS3 as well as to go from AS2. Okay. So, AS1 learns from the inter-AS protocol that the subnet X is reachable from AS3 and from AS2. Okay. So, what should it do now to configure the forwarding table? First of all, router 1D must determine which gateway it should forward packets towards for destination X, whether it has to go through 1C or 1B. Okay. This is also now job of the inter-AS routing protocol to find out which one it can choose. So, which one will it choose? So, what it will have to do for that is, it will have to learn from the, okay. So, what it will have to do is, it will have to find out which will give me a better path, right. So, to configure the forwarding table, we said that you must determine which is the gateway it has to go through. So, you need to find out which will give me a better path. So, which is a better path? You can say for instance, the closest of the two routers, right. So, that is one strategy to use, which is called as hot potato routing. So, if I were to use hot potato routing, you will identify which of these two routers actually is closest and you will use that as the path that you are choosing. So, the steps that we have for running this AS, inter-AS algorithm is, you need to first learn from inter-AS protocol that subnet X is reachable via multiple gateways. Then you have to use that routing information from the intra-AS protocol to determine cost of the least cost paths to each of the gateways. Now, we got 2 gateways, right? You have now find out which one has a least cost path. That we make use of the intra-AS protocol, either OSPF or RIP. And then you use hot potato routing, just choose the gateway that has the smallest least cost and send it using that. Okay. So, determine the forward table for that and make that entry in your forwarding table. Okay. This is basically what needs to be done. Okay. So, we will now look at how this idea is implemented actually in the network using the border gateway protocol. Now, BGP is now the de facto inter-domain routing protocol that is used. So, you can say it is kind of a glue that holds the entire internet together. Okay. So, what BGP provides is that for each AS, it provides a means to obtain subnet reachability information from the neighboring ASs. This is called as external BGP. Okay. Then, it allows this information to propagate to all the AS internal routers. So, it propagates this reachability information that it has got to all the AS internal routers, which is called as internal BGP, okay, or interior. In fact, you say exterior BGP and interior BGP. So, then you determine the good routes to other networks based on reachability information, which is what we saw just now, and some policy decisions. Okay, this is very important here because a lot of decisions are based more on policy rather than just the reachability information. Okay. And it will allow the subnets to advertise its existence to the rest of the internet saying I am here, because unless a subnet says I am here, BGP cannot pick up that information and send it to others. So, all these things must be provided by BGP and that is what it does. Okay. So, to understand some of the BGP terminology, we define something called a local traffic. What do we mean by local traffic is, it's traffic that originates at or terminates on nodes within an AS. So, it is within an AS, if you are doing something, it's local traffic. Transit traffic is traffic which has to pass through an AS. It's coming from some other AS and going through this AS to some other AS. Okay, that's called transit traffic. So, there are also different types of AS that we define. We talk about something called a stub AS. A stub AS is one that has only a single connection to one other AS. So, okay. So, it will only carry local traffic. So, normally small corporations are stub ASs. Okay. Then we talk about multi-homed AS. So, multi-homed ASs are those which are connected to more than one autonomous system, but they do not carry transit traffic. So, typically large corporations, right? They may be connected to more than one autonomous system, but they will not carry transit traffic. Transit AS on the other hand, these are ASs which will have connection to more than one AS and are designed to carry both transit traffic and local traffic. Okay, typically backbone providers are transit ASs. Okay, so this is the terminology that we normally use with BGP. So now the goal of BGP, okay, if we summarize, so it's basically to find any path to the intended destination that is loop free. Okay, because we have so many different nodes and networks that are connected to each other. So we need to find a path that is loop free. That's one goal. So here what we also note is that we are more concerned with reachability than optimality. Okay. Now finding a path which is anywhere even close to optimal is considered to be a great achievement. Okay. So why is this so? So why is it that reachability is more important than optimality when we look at the BGP protocol? So if you understand that, this again basically comes back to the challenges in BGP which is related to scalability. Now remember, an internet backbone router must be able to forward any packet destined anywhere in the internet. So having a routing table that will provide a match for any valid IP address is itself a problem, right? And remember that the different domains that we have, they are all autonomous in nature. So which means it's very difficult for us to calculate one metric and say that this metric is what will be used by all. Okay. So a cost of 1000 for instance provided by one provider may imply a great path for that provider, but it may be an unacceptable one for another provider. So in which case, it's very difficult for us to actually calculate a meaningful path across multiple autonomous systems. Okay. Third thing is issue of trust. Now this is a very, very important aspect. Okay. A service provider or an autonomous system may not be willing to believe advertisement is coming from some other provider. So only if I trust some other provider, okay, I will be willing to route my packets through that particular autonomous system. If I do not even trust that person, so how do I route my packets to that? So I need to find alternate paths. So you can't just go by some least cost path or whatever, but we need other criteria that we need to take into account. Okay. So, which is why you worry about how I can reach a particular destination rather than worrying about which is my optimal path to that particular destination. Okay, that is the goal of BGP. Okay, that is what BGP tries to focus on. So, what BGP therefore does is that it uses what is called as policy based routing. Okay, not shortest path routing, but a policy based routing, and it uses something called path vector routing. So, instead of just providing information about links and so on, it provides complete paths to reach a particular destination, so that when that information is advertised, every router, every autonomous system can decide based on that information whether it wants to use that path or not use that path. Okay. So, to support policy based routing, it makes use of path vector routing. Okay. So, let us look at how this BGP basically will work. So, what do BGP routers? BGP routers are the border gateway protocol routers which are running this protocol. So, they exchange what are called as BGP messages, and that is called as a BGP session. So, what happens in this session is that they advertise paths to different destination network prefixes, which are the networks that are reachable through that particular router. That information, path through that particular router is what is advertised. Okay, this is what actually takes place with the BGP messages, and this is exchanged over semi-permanent TCP connections. Okay. So, for instance, when AS3 advertises a prefix to AS1, what it actually says is that it promises that it will forward datagrams towards that particular prefix. So, when I say prefix here, we are talking about network prefixes. So, this network prefixes, suppose I say 14 dot something, I will forward. It means 14 dot this particular network can be given to me, I will be able to forward it. Okay. Now, what AS3 can also do is it can aggregate prefixes in its advertisement. That is, if it receives multiple prefixes that it needs to advertise, it can also aggregate them and send it out as a single prefix. Okay. So, this is what will happen. So, 3A comes to 1C, this is the information that will have to be given by that. Okay. So, how is the path information distributed? Okay. So, using eBGP session, we talked about eBGP and iBGP, right. So, using eBGP session between the border routers 3A and 1C, AS3 will send its prefix reachability information to AS1. Okay. Now, 1C can then use iBGP, right, to distribute this new prefix information to all the routers which are there in AS1, that is to 1A, 1B and 1C. Okay. And 1B, right, which is at this router, which is connected to another AS2, can then re-advertise this new reachability information to AS2 over this link, over this 1B 2A link, using a eBGP session, right. You can see how we make use of eBGP, iBGP and eBGP at 3 different places. Okay. So, when a router learns of a new prefix, it will create an entry for that prefix in its routing table. So, this is the idea. So, if you look at this advertised prefix, okay, it also includes certain attributes, certain BGP attributes. Okay. So, prefix plus attributes is what is normally referred to as a BGP router. Okay. So, it will consist of a list of subnets that can be reached by the AS path. Now, AS path again is an important attribute. What this AS path contains is, it is a list of autonomous system IDs through which this prefix advertisement has passed. That is, if you say prefix 144.22 and if you say AS67, AS17, it means it has passed through these autonomous systems whose ID is 67 and 17. So, remember that autonomous systems will also have a ID that will be given to them. So, this ID information will be passed. Okay. So, when I receive a particular information, it is easy to identify a loop. We said we need loop free paths, right. So, it is easy to identify a loop if your current AS is already there in the AS path. If your ID is already there in the path, that means that you already, the information that you send is what is coming back to you. So, it is a loop. So, you can discard that information. Okay. Now, in addition to AS path, the autonomous system path, you also have a next hop information which will indicate the specific internal AS router to the next hop AS. This may actually be multiple links away from the current AS, okay, but this specifies which is the next hop AS router that we have to take. This information will be specified, okay. And the gateway router which receives this route advertisement uses some policy to either accept this information or decline this information. So, it can say, for instance, you can have policy which says never route through a particular AS. Okay, you can have policies like that. So, based on that, which may be politically driven, which may be cost driven, which may be competition driven, there could be different things which are identifying what the policy is, but it could be based on any of those policies. Okay. So, how do we do the route selection? So, route selection is normally based on, as I said, policy decision, that is one thing. You could also use shortest AS path, that is a second preference. Then you could use the closest next hop router, that is hot potato routing that we talked about earlier, and any other additional criteria. Okay. Normally, it is in this order that you will determine which route you will select when there are more than one route available to go to a particular destination. So, if you look at the routing policy, to understand the routing policy a little bit better, let us say for instance we have A, B and C, these are provider networks, and W, X and Y, the smaller ones, okay, they are customer networks. Okay. So, now X you can see is dual homed, right. There are two networks to which it is connected, it is attached to B as well as C. Okay. Now, X obviously does not want to route packets from B to C, that is X is not going to act as a transit to send packets from B to C, that is already both these are providers, so they can decide how they want to talk to each other, right. That is we not, so X definitely will have a policy which says I will not send packets to C. So, X will not advertise to B a route to C. If X were to advertise to B a route to C, then B will start sending packets to go to C through X. So, that it will not do. So, X when it sends out its path will definitely not advertise to B a route which is to C, right. That it has a route to C, it will not advertise that information. Okay. This is one example of how you can set routing policies. Second example, okay. So, same situation, let us say A advertises, now what is A advertise? A advertises a path A comma W to B. So, it says that through A and W you can reach, can be reached through B, through this information sends to B. Now, B will advertise a path which says B, A, W and send it to X. So, X knows now that through B, A and W it can reach W, okay. Now, the question is, should B advertise a path B, A, W to C? It has a link to C, right. Should it say I can reach W through A and B? Should it send that information to C? Now, the answer obviously is no. Why no? Because B is a separate provider, C is a separate provider, and B is not going to get any revenue for routing CBAW, since neither W nor C are B's customers. Okay. W is A's customer, okay. X and Y only are B and C's customers. C is not a customer of B, right. So, B will not advertise a path BAW to C, right. It will allow C to find, B wants to force C to route to W via A, okay. So, it will not advertise this path that it can reach through B, right. So, this is another example of how B will set its policy. So, policies are based on revenue model, based on, now B and C can also have a sharing revenue model, in which case it may advertise that information. So, policies are set based on various factors, okay, right. So, this is the way the routing policies are chosen, okay. Now, if you look at BGP messages, there are different types of messages that BGP uses. We have an open message. This is used to open a TCP connection to appear, and it also authenticates the sender. So, authentication is done. Then there are update messages which are used to advertise new paths and also to withdraw old paths. Okay, you might have already advertised a path which alone you may want to withdraw. So, that is also done using the update message. And then there are periodic keep alive messages, which basically says that there is no updates being sent, but just keep alive, that whatever information I have sent you so far is valid, so keep it going. So, keep alive messages are also sent, okay. And a keep alive message also kind of acknowledges an open request, okay. And then there are notification messages. So, notification messages are used to report errors in previous messages, and they are also used to close a connection, right. So, these are different types of messages that are used in BGP in order to facilitate this exchange of information that we talked about. So, a quick illustration. So, as we saw, 3A sends a message to 1C, a BGP message. BGP message contains routes, right. So, route is as we said, is a prefix and attributes, AS path, next hop. This information is what is there in that route. For example, it can say prefix 138.16.64/22, AS path, AS3, AS131, next hop, okay, it has given the address 201.44.13.125. This is a route that is advertised. So, the router may receive multiple routes for the same prefix, okay, it may receive one from here, it may also receive one from here to go to the same prefix, right. So, this 1C now has got from both these says, from AS3 as well as AS2. So, now it has to select one, right. So, what is it will do? It has to select now the best BGP router prefix. So, it will be based on either policy, right, or it could be based on shortest AS path. For example, if let us say we have two paths, AS2, AS17 to go to this, and AS131 and AS201, this is coming from AS3, right, AS3, AS131, AS201 to go to this one. So, now, right, so which one do we select? This is a 3-hop path, this is a 2-hop path. So, I will choose this, I am choosing a 2-hop path to do this, right. So, in this case it is simple, it said one has a distance of 2, another has a distance of 3, so it is easy to choose the shortest path. What if there is a tie that is both of them may have equal distances. So then we can make use of hot potato routing or some other mechanism to do that. So how do I find this best? Now next is you have to find now a best intra route to the BGP router, right. So use selected routes next hop attribute, right, that information is also available for you. Now this route next hop attribute is the IP address of the router interface that begins this AS path, right. So for example, in this path AS2 AS17, next hop address was given as 111.99.86.55, right. So this AS2 and AS17, so this is the address of this router through which this particular path begins. AS2 will start at 111.99.88.55. So now I need to find out the shortest path to reach this address, right. So that is what I need to find out. So router now will use OSPF to find the shortest path to go from 1C to this address, which will be through 1B in this case. Okay. So it will find OSPF. So you can see that interplay between the intra-domain and the inter-domain routing protocols that is taking place here. Okay. So once it identifies that, it identifies the port along the OSPF shortest path, say port number 4 interface is what it is going to use. So it will add that entry in its forwarding table saying 138.38.16.64/22 port comma 4. So it knows it has to send it through this. Okay. So this is the router port information that is added. Now if there are 2 ports, 2 or more having best same distance for instance, what do? You use OSPF to determine which gateway is closest. Okay. So from 1C, choose AS3 131 or AS2 AS17. Okay, you can choose AS3 131 since it is closer for instance. Okay, that is basically what you will do. Okay. So putting it all together, so this is basically what will happen. You will have BGP running, okay, BGP running, so it gives me prefixes and it will give me the next hop routers. Now identifying using the IGP or using an intra-domain routing protocol, you identify the path, right, to go to that particular router, right. At every router you have the path to that router, and both this information will be integrated for you to come up with a combined table. Okay. So for instance, this is the combined table for router B. Okay. So for router B, you figure out from these from other autonomous systems which are the routes that are coming in, then how is it that the information is being aggregated inside and how both these things are combined together. Okay. So we combine BGP, we combine IGP, right, and we also make use of the OSPF protocol or the RIP protocol, whichever is the intra-domain routing protocol, and we combine all this information together to actually come up with our forwarding tables which are there at the routers. Okay. So, so this is what we need to remember about the routing protocols as such. So to summarize, so we have looked at this difference between intra-domain and inter-domain routing protocol, and we talked about autonomous systems and hierarchical routing and how the hierarchical routing solves the scalability problem. Okay. So we also looked at border gateway protocol and how it makes use of policy based routing and how policies can be fixed. Okay. And we also talked about how to integrate the inter-domain and intra-domain routing information. Okay. So this completes the picture on how routing is basically handled in the IP networks. Thank you.